Welcome back. As we earlier said, we're going to be talking about the revival of Egyptian tourism and the most beautiful and charming places in Egypt to spend your holidays during the winter, especially at the holidays. And a friendly country, also Germany, has a role to play in that domain or in that sector, because it seems to be that there are mutual trips and understandings between Egypt and Germany. We're very delighted to have the German experts here to be able to share their expertise and their experiences in tourism with the Egyptian tourism. Very delighted to have with us here in the studio live the international tourism expert, Rolf Raima. He's a hotel and hospitality consultant for tourism. Good morning, Mr.
Good morning.
Raima. How are you doing? Happy holidays to you.
I'm fine. Happy holidays and Takia Basra.
Okay, thank you.
Long live Egypt, sir. Mr. Raima, first time for you in Egypt?
No, I lived here in Elguna.
Okay. How was it?
Oh, excellent.
Before going into the detail, I'd like to have your experience as a foreigner who came to Egypt when it was the very first time. What are the differences or the changes you've witnessed yourself, and how do you evaluate Egypt as a touristic destination?
Well, Egypt has a special position in tourism. Egypt has more to offer than any other country. If there was an incident here and tourism dropped, Egypt was a country that recovered the fastest. Why? You have not only the cultural pyramids, in Luxor, all the temples. You have the beautiful weather. You have the Red Sea with the diving and beautiful beaches. And all this together, other countries don't have. They may have one or the other, but not everything together.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is that you have beautiful people. They make a difference. They are very, they understand hospitality. They have learned that their salary comes from the tourist, not from the owner of a hotel or the accountant, but it comes from the customer. And when I started here in Egypt, I established 5-star hotels. I opened 3 of them. From my experience in the world where I have worked, it was saying that take care of your employees, they will take care of the customer. And so Egypt is very rich.
Rich in its sites, rich in its people, rich in its sources, its traditions. Explain to us, if you'd like.
All of them. All of them. Okay. Nowadays, you're not safe anywhere. Okay.
That's true.
But Egypt has always had an attraction to people all over the world to come here. You mentioned in the winter time because of the weather.
Yeah.
Yes, absolute. Okay. But again, I feel very strongly about the people in Egypt because the friendliness, the hospitality comes natural for them.
Yes.
I used to work, I opened Disneyland Paris. And when we went from off stage to on stage, that means from the back of the house to the area where customers, there was always next to the door a mirror and a sign. You're going on stage, smile now. We don't have to tell that to the Egyptian people.
Yeah.
And they are very, they have a talent for learning languages. I gave English and German classes, incredibly. They speak so many languages. So they're very talented. They have to be, of course.
So what do we need, sir, here in Egypt? I mean, do we need propaganda, for example? Do we need to move to the whole world or to have campaigns of knocking doors as they name it, to tell the people the reality about Egypt, because unfortunately we should admit that many of the Western outlets are, I should say unfortunately, because I cannot add more to this. The rumors are said, false media reports, exaggerating what's going on when something happened, as if it is it's only in Egypt. But you've kindly mentioned that the whole world is not safe right now. But we should have steps, or we should have an agenda. Is it propaganda? Is it going to the peoples outside Egypt? Is it what?
It's many things.
We can at least enlist some.
Yes, absolutely. But I want to go a step back. I want to show how important tourism is to this country. In the best year, 2010, you had almost 15 million tourists. They generated $12.7 billion foreign currency to this country, what they needed. It became the second position of
a source of our national income.
Source of national income.
Yes.
And I think that now the Minister of Tourism by himself cannot do it. It needs the support and the understanding of all the other ministries. That saying tourism is so important. You almost had 6 million employees who directly or indirectly are affected from tourism. And you have many hotels that are closed even now. So it's the whole country, the whole government operation has to concentrate and support the Minister of Tourism. That means the Minister of Antiquities, Interior Minister, Minister of Culture, the Education Minister even.
Yes.
They all have to work together. There are ways of doing it. I give an example. When the incident happened in Luxor in
back in the
1997.
Yeah.
I happened to be here interviewing with Samir Saviris whether I should come to Egypt or not. And I looked at the area to see, should I move to Egypt the day it happened. I did start in January of 98, and we had 10% occupancy in the hotel. So what did we do? We got the decision makers in Germany and decided to bring out a new catalog. One said catalog about the Red Sea, the other about Sinai. We didn't mention Egypt. And we increased the occupancy to 40%, which gave me a break-even point that I did not let any employee go. I could keep all of them. But I used the time to train them and teach them. And one of the basic important things is that at that time I was on the board of a hotel school in El Gouna, which was conducted after a German dual teaching system. That means 3 days they were at school, the students, and 3 days they were in the hotels learning at the same time.
Practically.
And practice. And after the 3 years, from the German Chamber of Commerce, they flew over to take the exam and issue the certificates. It worked. We have Hogada, Elgona, Safaga, wherever, excellent employees in the hospitality industry. And that's where most of the tourists are in Egypt, on the Red Sea. On the other hand, nothing happens there ever.
Yes.
But, so, what shall we do now? I think that a think tank where experts all come together, they're locked up somewhere and you don't leave until you have an agenda and a program. But on this one, representatives of the different ministries, the tourism authorities, hotel owners, airline, especially Minister of Aviation, they all have to come together for one goal, increase tourism. And once they have the agenda, that everybody follows it, regardless if there's a change in the administration, if there's a new Minister of Tourism and so on, it should continue.
Yep.
What should be on the agenda? First of all, as you mentioned, propaganda. I'm saying it differently. Yes, we have to have an international public relations company that will represent Egypt and do the different steps. I don't know when last the travel writers were invited to come to Egypt, but not to show them the temples or the pyramids. They know all this. They have seen that. But into a forum that sit down on the table, talk, and saying, please, this is our country here. This is what we have. This is look how wonderful it is. Last night when I came from dinner, I was driving back to the hotel. The streets full with people, the cafes full. Everybody had a good time. They live.
Yeah.
So the message first to the travel writers. Secondly, from the tour operators and travel agents, again, small groups, not on a sightseeing, but a workshop.
Yeah.
That they understand and saying, yes, we can recommend Egypt again. Also with the airlines. After the incident in New York, which is 11/9, 11th of September 2001, people were scared to fly. So we found out that it were now the financial controllers who decided if an airplane goes or not. Because they said, if I don't have 70% occupancy of the seats, we will not fly. So we sat down with them, we talked, the Minister of Tourism was with us, and he said, okay, if you have only, as an example, 63% occupancy, we will pay for the 7% empty seats. That means the airplanes were flying again, and we brought the tourists back.
Thinking out of the box.
Right, and also if we look at examples, you were talking about importing examples. You mentioned 9/11. You mentioned some other countries. But if from your own point of view as an expert, given a country with 1/3 of the whole monuments in the whole world, that's not easy. That's not little. That's a hefty, precious amount of monument. If we could import experiences, like we could see other countries with nothing to have, but they're making good money out of good income out of tourism.
Correct.
Look for Mexico, for example, like a beach like Cancun. We could take relatively Italy. They have monuments, but not as precious as in Egypt.
Correct.
We could take Greece. We could take some other countries. So if you would like to elaborate on this, do you think it's a good idea to import experiences, or we could have our own?
First of all, I think that, as you stated correctly, what Egypt has to offer, not all the other countries have. They have parts of it. Okay. But the problem today is the fear of traveling into the Middle East. Because
that's a fact.
It's a fact. So we have to see how can we reduce the fear. And by, as I mentioned, the travel agents, the tour operators, the travel writers, there are some other steps that we could do. Concentrate on certain tourism. For example, medical tourism. Very important.
Yes.
I was instrumental in establishing a dialysis station at the hospital in Nerguna for tourism. At that time, we talked about it. I made a presentation. I found out in the meantime it's being used by the local people, and happily that the station is there. And we have sports. It is not only diving, but there are other sports. Now in the winter time in Europe, where you have ice and snow, the big teams, football, basketball, and handball, other sports, go into the warm countries for the winter camp.
Yep.
That is a 3-week session that they're here to practice or train before the season starts again, but they're accompanied by 50 to 100 journalists. Yesterday I saw on television that Bayern Munich arrived in Qatar. So why are they not coming to Egypt? Again, this is something which gives us publicity.
And this is another story, and we do have a lot of other questions and a lot of other things we want to ask about, sir, but unfortunately we're running out of time. But we are going to leave you with a promise to see you again in another episode of our breakfast show. Promise?
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, it would be
Merry
a pleasure.
Christmas to you.
Mr. Rolf Raima, international tourism expert, thank you very much for being with us, sir. Have a very good holiday, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Our
Same to
pleasure.
you.
I guess this is where we end this edition of the Breakfast Show. Many thanks to you, Nurmeen Abdurrahman.
Thank you, Valina. And
Mr.
tomorrow
Raima.
is another day with another crew. Stay tuned only on Nile TV International always for more. For more details, please log on to www.nileinternational.net. Thanks for watching.